Like last time, while I'm doing my makeup, I want to talk to you guys today about my struggle of trying to become a model, which, cut to the chase, I did not. So I've already applied my moisturizer, so I'm gonna go straight into using my very good friend of MAC here, the hydratant lumineux. Okay. So if you guys ever wondered about my height, it's 1 meter. Oh my god, 1 centimeter. 1 meter 71. And since I have kind of longer legs compared to the length or the proportion of my waistline, people usually get me taller without wearing heels, but my reality is I'm 1 meter 71. And let me tell you what 1 meter 71 means in the modeling world, as far as I've experienced. So first of all, you are not even the minimum height to be on a runway. A runway is fit for models who are more than 1 meter 74 minimum. And then the rest, of course, comes with your style of looks, your body figure, probably your race as well, because modeling industry is pretty well known for being very picky in terms of the race or type of ethnicity. But I think height is one of the most essential if you want to be a runway model. And actually I reached this height when I was in junior high. So back then I was like the tallest girl ever. Like even among some guys, I would still be like much taller than those guys who haven't grown over or grown out of their puberty. I just wanna see how beautiful you are. You know that I see it. I know you're a star. So I was pretty assured that I could be a model, and I started to dream about becoming a model since I was like maybe 13. At 13, I was actually living in England because my dad was working there. So at the time when I was 13, it was the era when the Spice Girls were out in the market, on the streets, doing their crazy thing in the music video. And it was also at a time when Kate Moss was really, starting to go towards her peak in her career, being a relatively short model and not anything like the former types of models that were really becoming supermodels at her era. So obviously I started to dream that not being the typical beauty that I am, and not knowing how much taller I would grow, I thought that I could give it a go. And I always dreamt of those things like, oh, you get casted on the street, you're going grocery shopping, and all of a sudden like the casting director is there, and then like she would approach and then offer you to come into the modeling industry and all of that shit. So I kind of dreamt all of that, but nothing ever happened when I was in England. And then we moved back to Korea when I was 15, and I still had like this height. I was very slim because I was much thinner growing up, and I probably had tan skin because I was exposed to the European sun, And so I kind of had like a different looks than the girls at my age when I went back in Korea. And it happened. One day I was shopping with my girlfriends in this district called Ide in Korea. It was at a time where there was actually lots of casting directors, either for modeling or for acting, sort of doing that street casting. It was quite a scene at that time. Nobody ever knows the truth about it. Nobody ever knows how much it can bring you, to what extent in bringing your career to a very professional level. Some people who claim to be casting directors or street casters could be a fraud. So there's all sorts of possibilities. Within those possibilities, there was this one guy who gave me his, I think he didn't give me his name card, but I gave him my contact. So maybe it was my fault to also not consider taking his name card, because then if you get a name card from somebody, at least you can try to search, or there's a certain type of credibility that you can get from this type of presentation. But I didn't, and I think I gave him my phone number of the house because I remember he called back. He called back, and I forgot if it was me who answered the phone or if it was my mom. But anyway, I remember talking to him, and he was saying things like, do you want to model, and I can offer you to learn about this industry, blah blah blah. I really forgot because it was ages ago. And then being 15, I was terrified to jump into a world where it was pretty notorious for a lot of things that a girl could be very vulnerable towards. So I passed the phone to my mom. I remember she was like cooking dinner, and then she answered the phone, and she spoke for a while. I'm not sure what he explained to her, and I didn't even ask. But she gave me the phone back saying that you choose what you want. But that intonation of her expression saying like you do what you want wasn't really, for me, perceived as, oh darling, you can do whatever you want in life and you should give it a try. It was more like, I don't care what you do. If you really want to do it, you can do it, but I'm not going to guarantee your life, kind of thing. And I was a girl who had my ups and downs in my adolescence, but I was still that girl who always listened to my parents a little bit. And for me, that was like a no. Like, that wasn't really a yes for me. And I also didn't want to be in a position where like I could be, I don't know, sexually abused or mentally abused, or they would just rip you off because like they would ask you to pay for some kind of like learning program, and then in the end you don't end up actually becoming a working person in that industry. I was scared of all those things, and at the same time it was something like thrilled me because I always dreamt of like starting as a model for stepping into the fashion industry. And at that point, I told him a flat no. I didn't explain why. I didn't even explain about this sentiment. I didn't even try to engage in a conversation to even find out further what he's offering exactly. But all I could say was no, because I've kind of heard like a rejection from my mom. And ever since I passed that opportunity, I did have those moments in my life where I revisited that situation, actually like millions of times, to think whether my life would have been different if I followed that guy or not. And at one point where I was really going nowhere, I really blamed my mom, saying like, oh, I refused it because of you, which at the end of the day was still my choice. So actually it's nothing to blame against her, but I kind of abused that situation. But anyway, that was my first street casting ever that I didn't take. And when I didn't take it, I thought to myself, when I turn 19, when I enter college, like my parents want me to, I can do whatever I want. I can be on the cover of Vogue worldwide. Like, I don't have to start in this market even. Like, I could do whatever I want, believing that I have what it takes to become a model by myself. And voila, I studied my ass off to get into college quicker than anyone else. And then I got like early acceptance. So I started to dream about this thing again, thinking that I've done what is within my obligations, at least for my parents, so I'm gonna do what I want to do. And so since I entered university, I've tried to send my profile to like supermodel contests. Which was quite often happening in Korea. I tried to visit like modeling agencies in Korea. I tried everything. The reason I'm saying I tried is in the end it didn't happen for any of those cases. But for example, like when I just sent like non-makeup, non-professional photography to like modeling contests, I guess I didn't have like other things that would like break past or through that non-professional photography, and I never really got a call back. Whereas for same exact contest that I had attempt to get into, I had two friends from my same university who actually won and who is now sort of Hollywood actress. So I really envy her in a certain way, but there's nothing I can do about it. And passing those moments that didn't come to me, I went to modeling agencies as well, and they would say like, oh, you have to enroll in a class first, and you probably want to get something done. So I was at college, I didn't have enough money to be enrolling to those classes if I didn't get help from my parents, which I know my parents are not really supportive of. And so I never considered enrolling into those classes. I thought that if they liked me, they would probably want to sign me instead of asking me to enroll in a class. But probably the reason they're asking me to enroll in their class is because they don't find me attractive enough just to sign off immediately. So I'm this Dumbo who have been roaming around and trying to get in there when the industry is not really looking for a person like me. But it still continued. So after all those attempts, I started to find like different types of things that were more open to larger audiences. So after going to like tons of auditions, and sometimes not just for modeling but for like entertainment companies who are seeking people or talents who wants to become like the next K-pop star and stuff like that, I've done all those things. Because I've danced also, and I can kind of sing, or I like singing, and I can sing like pop with my my accent. I thought I had a chance at that too, so I would, if they require you to make a video of you dancing or singing, like I even went to a recording studio, pay a recording guy to make an audition tape or a CD, to send it to, I think, JYP at one time. and I've participated in another audition that JYP was doing with a website where you have to upload your dance videos and then get as much views as possible. So you sort of get like audiences votes, and at the same time you will still go to offline casting where you would act or dance the same thing that you did for the video. And every time I went to those auditions in the K-pop scene, there were tons of like babies. There were like middle schoolers, there were like elementary schoolers, sometimes like they look like 10 years younger than me, and I look like the oldest person in the room. So I'm pretty sure like the people who are rolling the camera for the people coming into audition, they were like probably laughing inside, but I went through to all those things. And after that, I just graduated university, and then I got that fashion job that I mentioned in my previous video. So after I got my fashion job, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop like dreaming that, I could still find my own way to do things. And so in 2010, I think, the Cosmopolitan magazine in Korea was benchmarking from another Cosmopolitan event. I think it was in Australia or something when it first started, and it's called Fun Fearless Female. So I think now it's happening in other countries as well. And at that time, Cosmopolitan Korea was doing that. So basically, they tried to find a female that fits that slogan, Fun Fearless Female. Whether you are already working, whether you are a student, whether you are actually a model, if you fit into that category somehow, like you could participate in a defile or a runway sponsored by Juicy Couture swimsuits. And it involved like swimsuits on a runway with amateurs. And I was like, yay, this is for me. So I remember going into the first year into the audition. I probably had partied really hard the day before because I remember my voice was like really cracking like this. And I decided to sing there. The audition was held in a small theater. And the panel of judges from Cosmopolitan, one celebrity, one from the modeling agency who is going to be the trainer of the participants, they were sitting at the front row of the auditorium in the theater. And I actually had prepared the background music for Pussycat Dolls. What's the title again? I forgot. Nobody's gonna hurt you better. Something with you. Right, that one. So I sang that one with a microphone, with my cracking voice, all like echoing inside the theater. And it wasn't bad, I guess. So I got in. So I could take the days off that they require you to go into like modeling training, because I had a flexible time when I was working at that department store. So I would go into like training for like walking, mostly for walking, I guess, and then postures, and then taking profile pictures to be put throughout that event. And I participated. And then actually I was kind of trying to be smart, because when I experienced that event, I saw that all of the clothes and all of the shoes even that the girls have to wear were all found by sponsorship. So the Juicy Couture, who makes, well, you know, the types of like the velour tracksuits and stuff like that, plus the swimsuits that they were planning to put on the runway, was already there from the beginning. But things like shoes, they couldn't provide it. And at that time in the department store, I was in good relationship with like shoe brands, who were relatively new brands and who needed like exposure. So I proposed to the organization, well, sorry, like the organizing people inside Cosmopolitan, that I want to bring you a sponsor for the shoes. Which I did, and the brand that ended up sponsoring me for that event was Helena and Christie. It was a new brand at that time, but I think they're quite successful now in Korea. And so I, you know, sort of attracted another brand into that runway. And we put the logo of that brand also on the backdrop of the runway, and they were all participated. And at the same time, the girls who didn't have the shoes, like they could wear Helena Christie's shoes. Actually, at the end of the Fun Fearless Female event, there were a couple of awards that were given to the participants, and of course there will be like one girl who becomes the Fun Fearless Female of the whole participant. But there were like other awards, like It Girl Award, Most Stylish Girl Award, the Best Body Award, and stuff like that. And I think because of the shoe sponsorship, I got the It Girl. So yeah, you know, it's what it is, but I could at least bring something on the table to participate. Well, I participated without bringing something to the table, and I took a small reward home with a trophy, with what I brought onto the table. So it wasn't too bad after all. And hey, it was something that, you know, I just really wanted to do, and we were kind of broadcasted as well in certain small channels in cable TV. So it's definitely not like Victoria's Secret model at all. You're not going to be famous by doing that, but it was something like, you know, I could participate. They let me in, so it's like thrilled, and that was the breakout. So after the first year, they kept on doing it the second year and the third year, and the second year, they actually kind of called me back because I kept in relationship with the organizers, and we had, you know, ended up becoming quite close after doing the first one. And then the second year, they faced the troubles of finding good participants. So as I knew that they were going to do it again the next year, like I participated again in the next year. I didn't win anything, but it was really fun because we were doing kind of like swimming pool runway kind of, and it was like really in a nice venue. And the guest artist who performed after us was this group called DJ DOC. And then I guess my last attempt to become a model was in 2013, after I quit my department store job. And as you know, the first thing that I mentioned in the modeling industry was about the height. It could be about other things because I never know why I was rejected all the time. So I cannot say it's all about heights, but I think it was one of the things that I wasn't really matching. But there's also always like this age limit. So there are certain age that is best for you to start modeling if you want to start a career. For example, like you can start modeling at like 15, and then if you are successful, like you could carry on until you're like 40, but you couldn't start modeling at 40, you know. So I wasn't reaching 40. I'm not 40. But in 2013, I was already like reaching age limits even if I wanted to give it a go, which means like it's too late for me to get in. But after I quit my department store job, I still couldn't get over it. So I actually enrolled in those classes for modeling that I couldn't enroll before when I was in college because I didn't have money. Now that I had a bit of money, I paid all of that. It's quite expensive tuition to go inside to the modeling classes. So after I quit my modeling job, I paid to go into one of the modeling classes in one of the very famous modeling agencies. Well, actually, this agency is who I met while I was doing Fun Fearless Female, because they were the modeling agency partner who trained the participants. And this agency is called, now it's called YGK Plus. Before it was called K Plus, and it was founded by a woman who had founded another modeling agency a long time ago, which was kind of like the pioneer of modeling agencies in Korea. And they had produced like a lot of supermodels who went into like supermodel contests in Korea and who became like successful models, or models jumping into acting, and a lot of entertainers. And so she already had created a big agency. But since that agency was sort of like progressing in a different way, because they had been getting so many model wannabes who ended up enrolling to their classes, but they didn't get enough like good and talented models to actually be represented by them. I think she quit from there. She left the company and she created her own called K Plus to make sure like she really select the models that she represents. So it was called K Plus, and later on, the big YG Entertainment, who represents Big Bang, 21, all those groups, they actually merged together. So now it's called YGK Plus. But when I was enrolling, it was like the very last year of being K Plus by itself. And since I knew them, I went to talk to them to mention about my dream, to blab about my life, to bore the director that I'm old, I'm not tall, I've been rejected all my life, but I still want to have it a go. I would still want to give it a go. And I asked her if I can enroll in the class. From their point of view, if there's not much to lose, because you're gonna end up paying the tuition. They will train you for about 2 months, and at the end you will kind of get this kind of final exam to see whether they want to represent you or not, and to sign with you. But if they don't want to sign with you, they already gain a student to enroll in the class. So she said yes, and I was a bit late from the first day of the class, but I still joined. I still joined the class, and I was going through all sorts of things in my mind when I was going through that class, because one of sort of my friend who was a bit older than me was teaching the class. And as much as, she cared for me, she knew that I was too old to get in, and she knows the reality, but she couldn't really tell because she was the instructor. But anyway, I had a lot of fun. I met a model who is now very famous. She's been walking all around the world in the past Fashion Week. And I had a lot of fun with the girls. I had my chance to really work on my posture, really do the walk that you are required to do on runway, because we practice every day. And then while I was enrolled in that class, the agency was creating another modeling contest event with Elite Model Search. So as you know, Elite Model Agency is worldwide, and they always have like annual model search in each country. So with the winner of each country, they will do like Elite Model World. So they were doing Elite Model Korea. And I saw that there's no age limit. I saw that it was actually being organized by the same agency that I'm getting trained at, and I thought I have a chance. So I went to the audition and I got in. And the other girl that I just mentioned before, she also wanted to participate and she got in. In the end, she was the winner of Elite Model Korea, actually. And while I was going through the Elite Model search camp and until the last finals, there was a lot of things that really went in my head. For example, there was another instructor who trained us during the camp, and when she first saw me, she had high hopes. She told me that I tend to look very chubby because of my face and my body type. So she told me to watch out while I'm still in the camp because I can still get thinner. But other than that, like my walk is very good, my attitude is very nice, and she told me to keep it up. And she told me like very sort of like discreetly, because she would walk up to me after we all ate together and told me this. And so maybe because she saw me eat a lot, she came to say that, maybe. But for me, like I thought she wouldn't say that if she didn't care for me. And so I took it as a good sign, and I was happy. Even with, you know, my limits, I could always like push the boundaries and work it out. But then, like, I think the next day or a couple of days after, she suddenly changed. She suddenly did not give me any type of attention, and she was really literally cold to me. Like she would literally kind of gaze at me or stare at me, but not say anything. Or normally, like when we do the training, we would walk across a hallway and per person, so everyone gets their chance to be corrected and to walk better. And usually at my turn before, in the beginning, she was really focused to really tell me like I shouldn't do this and I should do that, do it again, do it again, do it again. But then 2 or 3 days after, she was like not paying attention, and she didn't give me all those corrections that she did before. And I felt it wasn't because I was perfect already, it was because she didn't care anymore. And I never found out why, but I think that she had a talk with the rest of the team who knew me from like Fun Fearless Female, who kind of knew my history. And probably, I don't know why, what factor that she didn't like, or she thought like I'm not real, or I'm not for real, or I'm not the type of person who could go into modeling, or I don't know why, but I think she decided that I'm not for it. And she really gave me that cold, like, cold treatment for like a week. And I felt really bad for myself that like, my mom used to tell me that you're so stupid that you have to realize some things that won't work out for you at the very last moment. You wouldn't realize it before you actually do it. You're kind of innocent that you have to do it, and then you will realize it. But there are places where you can be appreciated better because it's more for you, and you are not obliged to be in those places where it's not for you, and then you would get those cold treatments. You are worth much more. It was what my mom was saying. And at that camp, I really felt it. it wasn't that I knew I was worth much more, but it was more like, why am I getting these type of treatments? And so I was so sad. But I figured I have to finish the camp. So I stuck until the end, until the final. I did the final runway, and of course I didn't win anything. And on the final day, there was the director from Elite Model Paris who came to see everyone to make sure what they look for are the ones actually going on the runway. And I think she kind of pre-selected who she wanted to be the winner. And as I always had like sort of this vibe when I met like foreigners or people in the fashion industry from other countries, you know, I love to engage with them. I love to talk with them because we both have like same passion and stuff like that. But this woman was very objective, and when she heard my age, she was like, huh? Like no more interest at all. And I thought that like, okay, this is the end for me. So I decided to enjoy the last runway of the final. It wasn't already easy because I had this like super long dress that could easily be my wedding dress, but that had like a long tail. And for any models who know what it's like to walk a runway with like fishtail dress is the hardest when you have to turn, because the fishtail would like wrap around your legs and you could get tripped or whatever, and your heels could also get stuck on the dress, and you never want to fall. So I had to pay like great attention to make sure I don't trip, I turn well, and I do a super confident walk. And that's what I did. I try to enjoy the last moment. I knew that this type of thing is never going to come back in my life again. And so I really enjoyed it because I had become such good friends with everyone there, having spent like 3 weeks together in a camp. And I really enjoyed my time there and cherished that moment, thinking that this experience itself is something that will enrich me, but not the outcome. There you go. And that's sort of, I think, the last attempt to become a model. After that, I didn't give up, but I knew I'm totally out of all that boundary where you can even try. And right now, I know it is not possible. And I really truly want to believe that there is certain talent out there that I'm good at and I haven't even discovered myself, because I've always wondered ever since I was little, I would be working in a creative industry and I didn't know in what. For example, like I always love to listen to music, and at a certain point I realized like I really enjoy singing as well. And at one point when I was like watching movies so much and I get so engaged with the characters or the actors or actresses who are like playing the role, I really got engaged to think that like I really want to act as well. And for modeling, I just told you, like I actually went through certain things, tried to get into that world. And none of those actually became my reality. And I am not a person who has a characteristic of sort of giving up and be sad about what I'm not, but instead try to make something happen. Even if it may not be exactly as I imagined. And I'm still on that path. And it's weird that sometimes I sort of get encounters about the acting world as well, which I'm not part of also. But yesterday, my boyfriend called me like hurriedly to tell me something that his mom found an announcement on a local newspaper in France saying that they're looking for 250 extras to be casted for this like Chinese drama that they're filming in a castle in France. And they were like, oh, you should give it a go. It's like, it's thrilling and I'm gonna give it a go even if it's like an extra. But it's really tiring not knowing what I'm up to, and probably this is so boring and pathetic for you. And it is somewhat discouraging for me. And I think the biggest fear when I think about these things is that whether it may be like not A, not B, not C, but D, it may never happen at all. None of those things. And going into blogging, it's something different because like I just have to try to be myself more and really put it out there, but it's not exactly like the type of professions that I mentioned before. And look, I can do this exactly perfectly by my own self. But then again, I would need you guys to watch me. So thank you guys for watching me, whether it's one person or 2 people, 3 people. I really cherish your time to hear me out, and send me some love. And I'm not giving up for anything. And hopefully a good, bright day will come. And for you too. Ciao, guys.